Morning, Leslie Ann. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Unfortunately, Leslie Ann is in Malaysia at the moment. You are speaking to Chrislynn. I am the shelter manager.
Oh, right. Hey, Chrislynn, what's happening?
Jesus, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. What's happening with you? Now, you didn't email me. Leslie Ann did, but you're going to respond like on her behalf, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, tell me, you're at the Masimanyane Women's Rights International,
yes.
right?
Masimanyane Women's Rights International.
All right. Okay. Well,
yes, so we are a non-profit international women's organization. We're based in East London.
All right. Tell me what your views are on this, so that we can start a conversation about this stuff.
I think basically when I was listening to your program and the segment specifically, there were a few things that came up that we felt, was something open to discussion.
Sure.
And namely was, the segment was very much just his story. So it wasn't a full, complete picture. Especially in terms of responding to protection orders.
Yeah, I think I made that fairly clear because we'd only heard one side of the story, and I didn't want an imbalanced approach to this, because I obviously know that there's another side to the story which may not be the kind of story that he wants us to hear.
Yes, and that's why we really appreciate you also giving us the opportunity just to, share what protection orders are and what the purpose of the protection orders are and why the process is the way it is.
All right. So, Chrislynn, you obviously know about this stuff, and you're also completing your master's degree in social work. So you can tell me a little bit about how it actually does work. What does a woman who wants a protection order have to go through?
So basically what a protection order is, it's an order that is issued by the court at your request. So this is someone that is a victim of domestic violence, and you can approach the court. There are specific units at the courts that you go to. You speak to the clerks there and you fill out an application form.
Okay.
Then this is the form. This form is called the interim protection order. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then this form goes through to the magistrate, where the magistrate looks at the form, and if they deem that they are satisfied with the evidence that is presented in the interim protection order, then they grant the interim protection order. But then you do have a final date. Now this date is set to where the respondent, which this would be the perpetrator of the abuse, as well as the applicant, meet with the magistrate and actually discuss, what is stated in the interim protection order.
So what kind of protection does this actually give someone? I mean, if I were applying for one, what would it mean for the person I'm applying for it against? Would they not be able to come anywhere near me? Would they not be able to make contact with me? Would they not be able to mention my name in social media? I mean, how far does this extend?
Well, it would also depend on what you put in the protection order. The general terms that we talk about that prevents the respondent, that would be the perpetrator of abuse, is from further committing any specified acts of domestic violence, from entering either a joint residence or a specific part of the residence, or if you are staying in separate households, the victim's residence. It can also prevent the respondent from entering the victim's place of employment, can also prevent the respondent, from having contact with a child or children if it is in the best interest of the child.
Now, you obviously have practical experience of this kind of thing working with the institution that you're at, and I would imagine that there are probably a lot of women who see this as a last resort, really, because they just don't have any other options. And for many of them, they've probably had to put up with all kinds of threats or actual physical abuse up to that point. So it's a matter of, really having a huge amount of courage to be able to go to the court and apply for one of these. Do these women have assistance from places like the place you work at?
Our organization specifically have offices at the courts. within our area, we are based at the East London court as well as the Mdansane court, where we have experienced paralegal counselors there that actually assist the woman through the process,
and
as well as at the police stations.
are a lot of these women must be extremely emotional, extremely nervous, extremely scared. They must feel very unsure and insecure and anxious about what could happen. How do you talk them into the fact that what they're going to do isn't going to put them in more danger? It's going to help protect them.
Well, look, it is not about talking into, it's merely giving the information and saying this is what you can do and the option is up to her. We do not prescribe. We merely state, look, there is this option, as well as what our clerks do is also inform them about the shelter service, where, if the perpetrator is extremely violent and you are afraid that, should you fill out the protection order and that the perpetrator is going to enact some sort of violence, then you also have the option of being referred to the shelter, where this is a place of safety. So you also you assist the woman.
No, I'm not talking about the fact that you guys would go in and try to persuade her into doing this, but if she's coming to you, it's likely that she's run out of options, and it's likely that this is the best possible case for her if she wants to be protected from physical or emotional harm.
Yes, because look, in South Africa specifically, if I can bring you to some of the stats, they say that domestic violence, which is also your intimate partner violence, is one of the most common form of violence experienced by South African women. So what does that actually mean, in terms of the experiences of women behind closed doors in the safe home space? They also rate South Africa as one of the countries with the highest incident rates of domestic violence worldwide. So you can imagine we are dealing with an epic problem, something with extreme proportions.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that, anybody's happy about the fact that we have to go to such lengths to protect women. But yes. I suppose, in a world where you don't have many other things that you could run to and many other people that you could trust, for some women, this is a saving grace. I'm curious also about the kind of access that a partner might have if there is an interim protection order, and that and the partner who you've got that interim protection order against, is that partner allowed to see the children? Are they allowed to apply to have custody of the children? Do they have to prove that they're not a danger anymore? I mean, how do they rescue the situation from their side if there has been a misunderstanding?
So specifically in the application for the interim protection order, so that is your first form that you complete, there is a section in the form where they ask, is the child in any danger or exposed to, violence? So you find most cases of domestic violence where there are children in the homes are exposed to domestic violence. So they're ready. The magistrate will take into consideration if the mother is experiencing domestic violence, the chances that the child is exposed to domestic violence is very high. So what is in the best interest of the child then? Whether the mother has stated on the form that actually the child is in any danger or isn't, the magistrate can draw on the information given and then decide what is in the best interest of the child.
Right, so that's always paramount.
For instance, they have said, yes, you do not have access for your child, so you want to know what is the follow-up for the father. Is that correct?
Right. So, I mean, is there a way that if they feel they've been misrepresented or that it's not entirely true that they're violent or any of that stuff, do they have to wait for a trial date? Is that the kind of, is there going to be a hearing? Is there some kind of opportunity for the father to then say, look, this is not the case. I'd like to see my kids? There
are two options that the respondent can make, and this is either going to the Family Advocate's Office.
Mm-hmm.
The Family Advocate's Office is comprising of legal advocates as well as social workers,
Mm-hmm.
where they actually investigate what is in the best interest of the child. And then the second is when you actually appear for your final date to where the magistrate will actually, grant the protection order, and there you will actually state your case to the magistrate.
Well, Chrislynn, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. I'm sorry about the confusion around Leslie Ann at the beginning, but it's good to have this
no
information
problem.
at hand, and I appreciate you helping us out. If you're in East London, then obviously what you guys are doing at Masimanyane is very important, but I would imagine there are similar organizations across the country.
Yes, there are, and specifically to our organization, we are based in East London, but
Mm-hmm.
we are actually what we say we are globally connected. We don't only work in East London, we work in various regions in South Africa. We also work internationally. We have partners all over the world. So not only do we bring a local perspective on domestic violence, but we also look at from an international perspective where we get various information. We try to keep up with what the researchers are putting out there so that we can provide the best service to the women. But if you are needing any further information, you can refer to our website, which is www.masimanyane.org.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chrislynn Moonieyan.
No problem.
Very nice to speak
Thank
to you
you
this
so
morning.
much, Gareth. Good
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
Thank you. Good work that they're doing there. That's useful information, and for a lot of people who are caught in this unenviable, deeply upsetting situation where you have to get a protection order against someone, and there are lots of, not just women, but men as well, but I'd say it's probably 90% of it is women, who need to protect themselves. You need to find some refuge. You need to find some way out of an ugly situation. This is the first step, and don't be afraid to make use of what the law provides in terms of this. So there we go. That's Chrislynn Moonieyan, and you can find out more from the Masimanyane Women's Rights International Group. There we are. All right. Anything you want to throw in here? Ben, Mabs, anything going on that you need to notify us of?
Well, we haven't spoken about Harvey Weinstein for quite some time.
Is he still... where is he?
Not for obvious reasons, because he's a creep and we don't like him. But Harvey